what's going on YouTube? This your boy Kamen Zero Spike back again once again today, people. Today we're here for Avataro Sentai Donbrothers episode 49, and we're at the finale, guys. We're basically we got one more episode left, but this episode preview basically showed us kind of nothing. But let's get started with this episode. So we see that Taro has brought everybody out all together to basically train together. But before that, we see Tsushi's crew is actually watching a play-by-play of their last battle with the Donbrothers, and actually seeing how the Donbrothers actually messed them up. So they actually decided that if we actually get serious about fighting them, then we're actually gonna be able to beat them. So they actually go off and create a new Hitotsuki. But let me go back to our regular Donbrothers, who are everybody's like them and the Sarah brand all together. Basically, Taro has basically brought all of them together to train together. But we see that everybody kind of has their own little things going on and plans going on. So it's just left with Sonoi, Taro, and Jiru. So they're all planning on possibly training with each other, but they get intercepted by Tsuyoshi and his crew, which they inevitably get mollywopped and mocked by the other three. They actually put blindfolds on, like how the Sarah brand did, how Tsuyoshi's crew did last episode, and it completely decimate them. So after that, we see Tsushi's crew, they ended up retreating. But after that, we end up seeing Jiru finally has an actual formal a real meeting, a real introduction to Sonoi. And while he's shaking Jiru's hand, he reminisces how when he first met Jiru in that battle, and he sees how much Jiru has changed. Essentially, Jiru is a completely different person now. And we also did see that he can transform in between his his dragon form and his tiger form, and still being able to keep his same personality. So we end up going back to after that. After these three, we see Jiru and Taro talking with each other, and Taro's talking about how Jiru has changed a lot. He seems like a whole new person. And then that's when Sonoi comes in, and Sonoi's talking to him about he hasn't forgotten about their duel. But Taro's starting to act kind of weird in this episode. He's saying things like, I don't care about being the strongest anymore. I don't care about who's stronger anymore, which is like throwing Sonoi and Jiru off. Kind of throws them off. But we did see that Kijino, who's very depressed in this episode. We see that he actually quits his job, and his chief actually pretends to not care, but actually ends up giving him a really big hug. We see that he's actually quitting his job, and he's actually getting ready to move. We see that later on in the episode that he's packing up a bunch of stuff, and he is not feeling too hot, so he ends up so when he's at home, he ends up that's when Tsubasa ends up meeting up with him and introducing him to Natsumi. And that's when Tsubasa tells him that, hey, I want you to forget about, he said, I just want you to forget about Miho, and I just want you to forget about Miho and move on and go back to being a nice guy that you were before. And Kijino's like, man, I wish I could. Hey man, I've dealt with heartbreak, and it is not fun. I know exactly. I know I am, and I know a lot of other people watching this video know exactly what Kijino is going through right now. But he says it's actually not that easy. But we see that the cops end up seeing Tsubasa there in public, and they end up chasing him. And then that's when Natsumi, he tries to grab Natsumi and take her with him, but she tells him no, so he ends up having to run away on his own. While he's running away on his own, we see that he gets rescued by Sonoi. Of course he does. He gets rescued by her, and she gets pissed off, and she starts attacking all of these cops, getting all these cops off of him, and she ends up blowing up like blowing up 3 cop cars and stuff, like her arrows. And that's when Tsubasa grabs her. And he basically tells her, hey man, that's a little overkill. So we said Tsubasa relieves with Sonoi. So we said Kijino gets ready to leave, and he gets stopped by Natsumi, and Natsumi asks him like, hey, can we talk a little more? And they end up going back to his house, seeing that he's moving everything. See all his boxes and stuff packed up, and that's when she asks him like, "You're moving?" He's like, "Yeah," and then he says like, "I was a fool, you know. I Subasa's right. I need to just go ahead and forget about her and move on and stuff like that." And Natsumi basically tells him that she, all the memories that she has with him, and you know, memories that she has with Kijino, she still has all those memories, and she was dream while she was in the bestial force, she was dreaming about that. She dreamed about all that life she had with him. So yeah, and she gives him a big hug, and then she starts crying and she leaves. And I'm just like, oh man, they really doing this. They're really doing this. Clearly, they're really doing this. I don't know. It was very fun. It was very sweet, but I'm also like, ooh, how's this gonna play out? But after that, we end up seeing the we see Sonoza. Yeah, we see Sonoza with Haruka, and they're at the cafe, and that's when Black Kaito actually comes up to them and gives them an idea about like a little event that he wants to put together. Oh God, I hate that word, event. And after that, we see that Shinichi, he's off doing whatever he's doing. He's making haikus and things like that. And that's when we see the three. You see Sonoishi and his crew. They end up finding Mamoru, the old dude who's been a Hitotsuki at least 10 for who's been a Hitotsuki multiple times. Yeah, they end up taking him and he ends up becoming a Hitotsuki again, but he becomes the King Oger. Wow, he becomes the King Oger Hitotsuki, and he's very sentient. And he ends up after he becomes the King Oger Hitotsuki, he runs up to the Sayoshi and his crew try to tell him try to give him orders saying that, hey, go get the Donbrothers, go attack them. And he's like, no, I decide who I fight. And I'm like, man, y'all can't freaking order this man around. This man's the GOAT. This man has been a Hitotsuki like 4 times. 4 different Hitotsuki. 4 times, man. He good. He got this. And he ends up attacking them. And then that's when they actually, after he beats all of them up, he decides to, hey, I'm going to. They decide to, hey, let's call the Donbrothers to help us fight this dude, help us fight this guy. So he calls all of them. They call all of them to eat at the udon place with the old man with the weird voice who sound like he's smoked like 85 cigarettes in a day, but they end up getting eating with him, and he talks about, and Tado brings up, he said, I don't know you guys, I don't know you people. And he's just like, and everybody's like, wait a minute, yes you do, that's Shinoichi, yeah, that's Sonoichi's crew, like, you know them. He's like, oh, I guess I do. Like, Tado's acting real weird. It's really weird. But that's when Mamoru, man, the King Oger, freaking Hitotsuki walks in. He asks for some food. He takes it. He eats the food in a very cartoony, weird, cringy kind of way. He ends up eating it, and he transforms into his Hitotsuki form. And they all all the Don Bros, the Sarah Brand, the Sonoichi's crew all team up against this guy, which he ends up having a power where he can multiply himself. And each other clone himself was a different color. He multiplies himself, and everybody's fighting him. And then that's when Tado's in his Ranger form, he looks at Jiru and Sonoi and tells them that, hey, if you guys ever plan on being able to beat me, then you definitely is this really all you got? Is it? And he's just like, and they're just like, wait a minute, what's happening? He's like, he went from end to end. So what's happening here? So we see that Tado ends up using a brand new finishing move, which is pretty freaking dope. He ends up using a brand new finishing move where he pinpoints the location of every single clone, and including the regular one, and he attacks all of them at once and utterly destroys all of them, and also sends Mamoru home back to brush his miniature horses. And yeah, that was a brand new freaking move that he hasn't really used before, and he was able to pinpoint. He started acting like his original self again. So after that, also we get no mech fight, no mecha battle in this episode at all. But so while while they were fighting all the clones of the King Oja Atotsuki, we see how there was two onlookers, two people dressed in all black robes watching the entire fight, and they ended up talking about Sonoichi and his crew, talking about they're putting on a very deceitful display. Not that I care though, and we see them. So most likely that's like the council from the council from the Cerebrand world. Maybe that's them, or possibly higher up than them. But we don't we won't know until next week, hopefully. And yeah, and then we end up going back to the cafe where we see that they're hosting a birthday party for Jiru, and Jiru basically says that, hey, my birthday party isn't all that far away. But there was just Kaito's little plan to get everybody together to do something for Tato. We see that he gets two presents. He ends up getting a pillow with his face on it, his ranger helmet on it, and he ends up getting some red chopsticks. And I'm like, yeah, man. And he's trying to figure out have he found happiness yet. We see that Tato is kind of feeling weird because everybody in the team has basically found like their thing. Everybody has basically come full circle and basically found their purpose. And I think but Tato really hasn't found his purpose yet, and he's probably maybe is gonna feel like he's not needed anymore. But yeah, so but yeah, also, but episode ends off right there. But I hope that a lot of these other loose ends and other questions that we have about the series get kind of answered, or at least addressed, because there's so many things with the bestials, the Noto, that we don't know anything about, especially with the why is Tsubasa being chased by the police again. I know it's because of like the misfortune of him using all of his points, but also Natsumi's he originally was going to jail for Natsumi. He was going to jail because people found out about Natsumi, thinking that he kidnapped her and stuff like that. But she was sitting right there next to him, so obviously I feel like that he's going to jail for the the murder of the detective Juto, the Juto that was protecting the police chief guy, because he actually killed him. He dead. Like, he killed him with Murasame. And when Murasame kills when Murasame slashes a bestial, they dead, or a bestial host that they dead. So this is probably why he's being chased by the cops again. Also, the whole like Murasame hasn't been around for a minute. We haven't seen Murasame in a minute. So, well, in suit Murasame. So we haven't seen him in a minute. So, the whole like mother-son relationship he has and things like that. We don't know who his mother is. We don't know any of the backstory and things like that. And also when he met his future self, his future self didn't have a mother. He was acting on his own. I guess he was an older kid, but I guess he was acting on his own. So they really also haven't addressed that as well. Same thing with the detective Juto that Tsubasa killed. Also with Haruka's ex-boyfriend and his mom are also Juto, which we haven't seen yet. Like, they haven't really either addressed that yet. So hopefully some of those things with the whole Juto stuff, because a lot of it stuff's Juto based, and the whole Juto thing, the whole Beasto thing kind of got pushed under the rug. So hopefully we get like a good wrap up with all that. But you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of Kamen Rider, of Avataro Sentai Donbrothers episode 49. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, as I always say, guys, stay henshined.